Hello. Keir Starmer, our dear leader, has changed his mind. Again, apparently it's not now jumping on the far-right bandwagon to seek justice for a series of horrible endemic crimes corrupting children up and down the country. Phew! I was so worried that I was on the far-right bandwagon. I do find those pointy white hoods such a nuisance. The eye holes are never in the right place, and it's just awful trying to go through a doorway, even for someone as relatively short as I am. And of course, there's always the chance of setting fire to yourself with one of those torches. As I said, I'm so relieved because I got a letter last week from a subscriber and she described some awful far-right stuff about being attacked. Remember, that's YouTube speak for something else. Attacked by a gang of Asian men, and I was getting really worried about reading it out, seeing as recognising a cultural problem and identifying a particular ethnic group is, or rather was, jumping on the far-right bandwagon. And that's something Keir Starmer considered not very nice. And the very last thing I want to be is someone of whom Sir Keir disapproves. I'm Granniopteryx. Please click that like icon and also subscribe to my channel. You can share the video as well if you want, and you can contribute financially. The links are in the description. You can be absolutely sure that whatever you send me is much appreciated, especially by my horses, whose purpose in life is to eat hay, destroy shoes, and remind me that living in the moment is sometimes the only way to stay sane. So before I start, I have to remind you of something. YouTube is picky about words. We're never given a set of rules, so I don't know when I'm overstepping the mark or not, but I'm going to gamble on something here. I suspect that I can use the word rape a couple of times, but if I use it too many times, the alarm bells will start ringing. So if you're going to see an inconsistency in my use of the mute button, what's happening is that I'm just cutting down the frequency because the letter I received, which I'm going to read out, uses that word rather often. The other thing I have to tell you is that 4 councils, hang on, I've got to get the page up. Here we are, this was in the Standard. 4 councils have decided as a matter of policy that talking about Asian grooming gangs is Islamophobic, which is sort of interesting because Asians are Chinese, generally not followers of Islam, Sikhs, definitely not followers of Islam, Christians, absolutely not followers of Islam, and Hindus, who are about as much followers of Islam as a 4-armed god who plays the flute would be a follower of a desert prophet who hates music. Anyway, yes, they are all Labour councils, and to us socialists, words are what they decide they mean, not what they actually do mean. What is actually meant is that the Asian gangs are Muslim gangs, Pakistani gangs or whatever. And so to be properly Islamophobic, I'd have to call them not Asian grooming gangs, but Muslim grooming gangs. So here I am climbing onto the bandwagon. Enjoy the music, folks. The letter is from a subscriber I shall call Clarissa. And it went as follows. For some reason, a video of yours came up in my feed from 5 months ago. You likened what was going on with the Labour councils and the rape gangs to the mafia. However, you said, they were not running rum. They are not running rum, says Clarissa, but they have been running heroin and other drugs for decades. It's not a problem to get heroin into Pakistan from Afghanistan, she continues, but getting it off the planes at Heathrow requires baggage handlers and probably customs officers too. That's a little disturbing, isn't it? In the early 70s, I was gang raped by a group of British Pakistani men. They raped at least 2 other women. Many women did not report rape back then, so there may have been more. Yeah, I suppose there would have been more. The police did not think they would get the case to court, so it was dropped. Well, Clarissa, I suspect the police knew that if they did get the case to court, they'd be accused of all sorts, and that's why they decided that they'd tell you it wasn't possible to take that to court. At least that's my theory, judging on the way the police have behaved that we know about right now. However, Clarissa continues, I did find out that the men they suspected were baggage handlers at Heathrow. Incidentally, 2 of the men were brothers, a common theme with these gangs. Of course, I do not have any evidence after all these years, but I assure you that these gangs were operating at least as early as the beginning of the 70s. They might not have been raping on an industrial scale, but the ideology of misogyny and racism was there. It is the drugs that have been making them rich and buying the power. Well, I did see in Heretics, yeah, of course, Raja Miah. Raja Miah was saying that there were some very cosy arrangements between various officials and the police and even local press. So money, I don't think he mentioned money, but yeah, money does oil a lot of wheels, doesn't it? And Clarissa is saying that these people were dealing in drugs, and this was giving them enough money to give them a lot of power. She continues, I have been telling people for some time that they are just the same as the mafia, including being extremely family-oriented. Like members of the mafia who came from impoverished Sicily, these immigrants have often come from culturally tribal and poor villages in Pakistan. Obviously, not all of British Pakistanis are involved with the drugs and grooming gangs, but the community needs to stand up and help us stop this. I assume by the community, Clarissa means the Pakistani community. Yes, it does. And you don't hear much from that community except for truly saintly outliers like Raja Miah. So when I got that letter, I wrote back to Clarissa asking her if she minded me, first of all asking her if she was all right. She appears from the control she has over that letter, it appears that she is not too badly psychologically damaged, but I did ask her how she was, and that's important, and I want to get a message across to anyone else who might have been in this situation. Okay, so I asked her if I could read it out and the state of her mind, and she said yes, you can read it out, and she told me something else that might be of use to other people, so I'm going to read her reply. Yes, you may read it out, she says. We have not really exposed all that's been going on for decades, and that the rape gangs are just the tip of the iceberg. So what Clarissa is saying is that it's not just rape gangs, it's drugs and other socially destructive activities that she thinks is going on. And then she says, I've had a lot of good therapy and was a therapist myself, helping women who had been sexually abused as children, and a few men. I am also a Christian, and Christian trauma ministry and a long process of forgiveness has helped me tremendously. So I hadn't heard of Christian trauma ministry, but yeah, if you have that sort of a problem, perhaps you should try looking them up and turning to them for help. However, she continues, forgiveness does not entail ignoring justice, but seeking to help stop this for wounding others so badly. These rape gangs must be stopped. And the feeling I got from what Clarissa has just said is that it's not just rape. That's merely the visible bit. There are other things that we have to investigate. And as she says, not all Pakistanis, Muslims, obviously not. The problem, though, is the mafia type of culture of omerta. You don't tell the outside community about the bad things going on in your own community. And that's, of course, that's not right. I might say it's not British, and that's where the problem actually lies. And she implies that well, basically what she's saying is that people who have no respect for working class girls have no respect for the rest of British society as well, and so are liable to do other things that are deleterious to the outside society. Again, I have to say, not all. That's the letter from Clarissa, and there's another video I'm going to be making about this subject. But until then, till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.